And in the story, he takes humanity up and he takes him to the end. And he tells the people at the end to take care of him. Now what is that? That is the church. It is the corporate body of Christians. The church is given the command to take care of one another. You see, we're all beat up and we're all hurting. And so where do you go when you're beat up and hurting? You go to people that can take care, that can help you. And that's what the church is all about. I don't know if you go to church. I don't know if you've had a bad experience at church. But what church is supposed to be about is the corporate body of Christ, where you help each other physically. If you are in a church and there's somebody that lost their job or whatever, you're supposed to help them physically. But it goes beyond that. Not only do you help them physically, you help them mentally, psychologically. You help their soul. And if they've have somebody that's gone through a bad marriage and maybe has a divorce, it is the church that is supposed to comfort them. Or if you have some relationship in your family and you've had somebody to die, it is the church that is supposed to comfort them. And so psychologically, if there are things going wrong in your life, if you've been beaten up psychologically, the church is there to help. But it is also there to help spiritually. We go to church to worship God, to honor God, to learn about God, and to teach others about God, to be encouraged in a spiritual sense. And so he took him to the end, and he basically says, while you are on earth here, you're going to have trouble, buddy. You're going to have trouble in the physical world. You're going to have trouble mentally, psychologically. You're going to have emotional trouble, and you're going to have trouble spiritually. So I'm going to put together a group of people that we call the church, the corporate body of Christ, to take care of you. And so if you are part of a church or not part of a church, that's what a church is supposed to be. Because here's the deal. If you're part of the body of Christ and you're a finger or you're a toe or you're an arm or whatever, if you separate yourself from the body, you're going to have trouble. You're going to have trouble. And so you want to become part of the corporate body where you can be encouraged, you can be strengthened, you can be taught, and you can find relief. And then he says this, which just kind of blows your mind. He said, I'm going away. You see, Christ came, but he left again. And he said to the church, he said, take care of this guy. And that's what we as Christians are supposed to do with one another. To help each other, to take care of one another. Physically if need be, psychologically if need be, spiritually if need be. He says, take care of this guy. And if you feel like you've given more than you have received, and sometimes you can, you know, if you're very talented, there'll be times in your life you'll feel like people's taking from you. And you think, man, I've been taken from, but I haven't really received that much. He says, even if that's your experience, you take care of one another. And when I come back, two things here, two promises here. He says, when I come back. He does not say if I come back. He says, when I come back. And you need to understand, and that is the hope of Christianity, that He will come back. And He says this, when I come back, I'll take care of all of it. If you feel like you have given more than you have received, guess what? I'll make it up to you. If you feel like that you've put out more than you have taken in, don't worry about it, because I will make it up to you. And that's an incredible promise. I love the verse in Luke 6:38. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure. That means if you're measuring something out, you give a good measure. God's not going to give you a measure that's skimmed off the top. He's not going to give you a 2/3 of a gallon when you buy a gallon. He said, I'm going to give you a good measure. And he said, pressed down and shaken together. If you're dealing with some things, to get a good measure, you have to shake it a little bit. Like I did with the beans in the jar a few weeks ago. You shake it to where it gets the air out and it compresses down. Pressed down, shaken together. He's going to make it all up to you. Pressed down, shaken together, and then he says, running over. Running over. In the 23rd Psalm, it talks about, my cup runneth over. Your cup cannot run over unless it is full in the first place. And so however much energy, time, effort, money, whatever it is that you spend trying to help others, God said, don't worry about it, just do it. Because when I come back, I'll make it all right. And your cup will run over.